Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. This is Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Hope you're all doing well. Just wanted to come on here and give you my five 49er players who likely will be entering their final season in San Francisco. So let's go through that list. There's five names, as I mentioned. Not necessarily in this order in terms of who I think is going to go, but these are the five names that I would expect to not be 49ers when they get to 2023. Since joining the 49ers, though, in 2017, a little bit of background. Since joining the 49ers in 2017, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, they've built one of the best rosters in the NFL. Their first three drafts resulted in at least one player becoming an All-Pro. And then if you look at their last three since 2019, before 2022, in 2019, 2021, and 2019, 2020, and 2021, San Francisco drafted 21 players. 18 of those players are still on the roster. George Kittle is among the best at his position in the game at tight end. Same with Fred Warner, Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa. Kittle and Warner even signed contract extensions, making them players at their position, at least at the time of signing. Warner was since passed. Deebo Samuel is in line to receive a massive contract this offseason. All signs are kind of now starting to point to that direction after some back and forth with some disagreement, I guess you would say, on Deebo Samuel's behalf, or whatever you want to say. There was definitely some posturing going on through social media there for a little while, but it looks like that deal is going to get done this offseason. And then Nick Bosa, it's likely to come down next season, as the 49ers have given him the fifth-year option. They've decided to go that route instead and push that off for one more year. With the big money that the 49ers are spending right now, especially on their top-end talent, they're having to cut out the NFL's middle class. And that's kind of what life is like with the salary cap. You start having we start hitting on these big time players, and it starts making it a little bit harder for you to fit it into the salary cap. And, having it be that way is making it even more critical that the 49ers actually hit on their draft picks. Rosters in the NFL, they're never entirely stable. They're always fluctuating. And there's always a good amount of turnover year to year. So with that in mind, I want to go through the five players that I think, like I said earlier, will be entering their final season with the 49ers. Number one, Jimmy Ward. Ward is a favorite of the 49ers coaching staff. He dealt with several injuries early in his career. Those first 5 seasons, he only played more than 10 games twice. His average was a little over 10, like 10.6. However, things kind of turned around on the injury front for the 2014 first-round draft pick when over the last few years. Ward's only missed 6 games over the last 3, and that's a positive. Now, the reason I don't see him coming back is he's going to be turning 31 in July. He's entering the final year of his contract. And also, San Francisco is scheduled to have a dead cap of $6.395 million for Ward in 2023. And that's because they use void years to help lower his salary cap hit when they did his last extension. Ward's a valuable player. He's a good safety. But on the backside of that, he's only managed 2 interceptions the regular season over the last 5 years. And both of those came last season in the same game against the Los Angeles Rams at Levi Stadium. He did have a nice interception in the playoffs as well, but in terms of regular season interceptions, Ward has only 2 in the last 5. And when you start to look at the numbers that the 49ers have in terms of salaries and things like that, and the way that the salary cap is going up, it might be a situation where even though, he's entering the final year of his contract and the 49ers could have extended him maybe and lowered his cap hit for this year, it might be a situation where with the market changing the way that it is and the amount of money that's being given up, that he might just be willing to bet on himself and try to get a more lucrative deal somewhere else, similar to what we saw from Tyrann Mathieu. So we'll see how that goes. Really quick, before I get into some of the other players, I just want to shout out a few folks in here. We have Ellen. Ellen's always in here. It's great. He says, what's up? And everyone in the chat, happy Friday. Yes, happy Friday. Luke says, what did you do with nails? This is a solo show today. This is the Jack Hammer show. You're right. It probably says hammer and nails in there. I didn't switch it over. I've been asleep at the wheel with that lately. But there we go. We got it figured out. Thank you very much for the assist there, Luke. And then Martin says, hey, Jackie, how you doing? And EB from Florida says, great show, sir. Thank you very much. We'll see how this one goes. Boris Apple jumps in and says, Ward is versatile, plays both safety positions and also slot. He is. He's very versatile. That's partly why the 49ers coaching staff likes him so much, is his ability to play strong safety, free safety. It's interchangeable within the 49ers system, especially with Ward. his ability to come down and cover those slot receivers, especially big tight ends or tight ends in general. He does a really good job against those guys. And it's just one of those things when you look at Ward, I would have thought that maybe something would be done already. Typically, re-signings of this nature get done by the 49ers earlier instead of later. And I don't know what the situation is, but this is one that I could see the 49ers moving on just because of the way that they're the direction that they're going in terms of they're churning the roster right now. They're getting younger, and I think this could be the last hurrah for him. Number 2 is Emmanuel Moseley. This one probably doesn't come as too big of a shock. Moseley joined the 49ers as an undrafted free agent in 2018, made his first start the following season in week 5. He's a solid cornerback, but injuries have limited him to only 23 games over the last 2 years. The deal here with him is that, the 49ers have added several cornerbacks in the last 2 drafts. They went out and they picked up Ambry Thomas and Diamador Lenore in the 2021 draft. And then this draft right here in 2022, they brought in Samuel Womack and Tariq Castro-Fields. All 4 are guys that can play on the outside. We've seen it already. We've seen Ambry Thomas at least play on the outside as well as Diamador Lenore. Womack is a guy who, according to the 49ers brass, they feel like he can play outside just as more of an outside cornerback even than as an inside. And then Tariq Castro-Fields, who is a extremely athletic corner from Penn State that is going to be an interesting watch for the 49ers. I think they got great value with Fields at pick number 221 in the draft late at the end of the 6th round. In addition, the 49ers went out and their big free agent acquisition was a cornerback, Charvarius Ward. So you start adding those names up, and Moseley, I think, might be the odd man out here. He doesn't have a contract in place for next season. Like I said, he's entering the final year of his deal. The writing just seems to be on the wall for him to be fighting this season to be able to go out and earn a big payday next season from another team. That's the thing there. I like Emmanuel Moseley. I like all these players that we're talking about are players who I like, but I also feel like it is a situation where the roster turnover on the 49ers is such that these players won't be back. And then Boris comes back. He says it was a little surprising that the 49ers didn't move on one of the safeties in the 2nd round. A little bit. If there was a move that I would have seen them making, I think it would have been the Brisker move up to get Brisker at the point where he did. I think everybody was expecting him to go in the late 40s, early 50s, and the 49ers had the ammunition to jump up and get him. They decided to go in a different direction. I'm not sure what their long-term plan is there, unless they're expecting one of these corners maybe to slip over to the safety position. So it'll be something that'll be fun to watch as they go through training camp and into the season. We're going to step away from the defensive side for number 3. That's Mike McGlinchey. McGlinchey, he was selected by the 49ers with the 9th pick in the 2018 draft. The 49ers chose to use the 5th-year option, though, on McGlinchey to retain him for this season. He's trying to come back from a torn quad tendon. He says he's going to be ready to go when the 49ers open training camp. We'll see. Everything kind of seems to be trending ahead of schedule for him, and that's good news. During the pre-draft press conference, he was asked if he feels like 2022 is a prove-it year. And in McGlinchey's words, he said, he doesn't feel like it is. Not something that's ever been proven to him or been told to him, doesn't think that that's a way that you can operate just because of the amount of pressure that's put on on yourself and everybody else. He wants to be a 49er. At the end of the day, it's going to be not going to be his decision. It's going to be up to the 49ers. And, maybe nobody told McGlinchey that he's going to have to go out and prove it this year. But their actions have. The 49ers have now spent 3 picks over the last 2 drafts on offensive tackles. They went out and they got Jalen Moore last season, and then this year it was Spencer Burford in round 4, and then Nick Zakelj in round 6. Zakelj both kind of project more as interior players, especially Zakelj. I think they expect to see him play more of a guard center, whereas Burford could be more of a guard tackle, so it's kind of a swing player there. But both of those guys kind of add some pressure to Mike McGlinchey there as far as coming back to the 49ers. Boris jumps in again. He says Verrett and Ward on the outside would be a dynamic duo. Yeah, you're saying on that one. You're saying Jason Verrett and Charvarius Ward. It would be a fantastic duo. Verrett, the 49ers were able to bring him back earlier this week. It was on Monday. They re-signed him. That's a good deal for the 49ers. And that, last year when they brought Verrett back on a 1-year deal, I was not excited about that. And the big reason was because the 49ers didn't have the depth at cornerback. It was pretty much Jason Verrett or unknowns in terms of rookies. We saw it kind of bite the 49ers this season. They had to play, I think, softer in the secondary because of having Ambry Thomas on starting at one side than they would have liked to have. But if you can get Verrett and he's fully healthy, Verrett and Ward would be extremely a good duo on the outside. It's all about health with Jason Verrett, because when he's healthy, he's as good a cornerback as there is in the NFL. Plus, he'll be a steady influence for the team. He's been around. He was with them all. All these guys know him. He was with the team last year, and so it'll be the cornerback room has gone from, I think, a weakness a year ago, at one point, to a little bit more of a position of strength. You have some really good players already there. The addition of Ward, you bring Verrett back. It's good competition throughout that room, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that cornerback position. Number 4, and this one's going to be short, but this is, I think this guy's a fan favorite in a lot of ways. It's number 4 is Dre Greenlaw. He was a 5th round selection in 2019, and fans love him really mostly because of the fact that his game-saving tackle on the goal line secured the win for the 49ers over Seattle in Week 17 of his rookie season. Helped them get the home field advantage, win the NFC West, which gave them home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But then, since then, Greenlaw's been good, but he's struggled with injuries a lot, and it's really kept him off the field. He only was able to play 3 games in 2021, and when he's been on the field, has been a little ineffective at times. He's a good player, like I said, but there are some deficiencies in his game. And he's entering the final year of his contract, and you have the emergence of Azeez Al-Shaair. You have the 49ers bringing in George Burks from the Green Bay Packers, who started for them a little bit. You also have Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles out there who does a pretty good job. And the 49ers are pretty deep at the linebacker room. I like Greenlaw for the 49ers in 2022. I just don't know if he's going to be back after that. And then last but not least, and this one is a little bit of I'd say it's a little bit of a shot in the dark. This is a little bit that's going to be a long shot, I guess. And at number 5, I have Trent Williams. As you might have noticed, Williams is going to be the only player that's on this list that isn't entering the final year of his contract. And like I said, it's a bit of a long shot that he's going to be released after this year. So why is he on the list? Well, when you go through and you look at the contract that Williams signed, when he signed that new contract before last season, it made him the highest paid left tackle in the NFL. But here's the thing. The way in which San Francisco structured the contract makes 2024 to 2026 option years, which San Francisco opts into if they decide to pick up his $10 million guarantee by April 1st of next season. So with that, if the 49ers decide to go in that direction, what happens is the rest of that contract becomes they're on the hook for it, so to speak. It's like I said, it's a little bit of a long shot, but the decision with Williams, it's a gamble either way for the 49ers here. Williams is coming off an all-pro season. He's a very good player. I'm not going to say that there's nothing that's incorrect about that. If you're out there yelling at me because you feel like he's one of the best, because he was an all-pro last season. The only issue with Williams is he hasn't played an entire season since 2013. He's missed at least 2 games each season since the following year. So since 2014, he's missed at least 2 games. And beginning in 2023, Williams will carry a cap hit of at least $26.27 million over the final 4 seasons of his contract. So we're looking at an offensive lineman who's going to be 36, 37, 38 at that time. And the problem with that is that, sure, you can restructure the contract. It is an option, but that's a considerable risk to take on an aging veteran offensive lineman. Like I said, by that point, he's going to be in his mid to late 30s. It's not old for folks like you and myself, but it is older for an offensive lineman. So, this is going to be one that's going to be something to keep an eye on as we get into next offseason. We're going to know early on, like I said, that option date is the first of next year on Trent Williams. And again, and that's the long shot there, the Trent Williams one. Wanted to make sure I put one name on there that doesn't have an expiring contract and is a little bit different, and that the $10 million option, pickup is an interesting piece that I wanted to make sure that I got out there and shared with you as well. Jay, thank you very much for the donation. He asks, would the Niners have picked up McGlinchey's fifth-year option if they knew they would be able to draft so many good offensive line prospects? And I think the answer to this, Jay, is yes. I think they would have. The 49ers are building depth throughout. McGlinchey is a very good offensive lineman when it comes, he has shown the ability to be a very good offensive lineman, I should say. Last season, before his injury, I thought he was playing at a high level, better than he did in 2020. I think some of that had to do with having Daniel Brunskill to his left. And I think they would have picked it up there. It's $10.8 million, $10.88 million. So it's not a big chunk of cash. It's a 1-year deal. You take it. It's kind of, think of this as like what they're doing with Nick Bosa. It's you're guaranteeing yourself to have this guy for another year. And especially with a guy like McGlinchey, who's had the injury history that he has, because he's been injured a little bit here the last few years at times. This allows him allows you to see if he can play. Even if he's not in the 49ers long-term plans, if he comes out and he has a good season this year, that's the best case scenario for him and for the 49ers, right? You get the most out of you can out of these guys. It's kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo last year. I think most people knew Garoppolo was on the last year of his contract. And he was able to help them get to an NFC championship game and, close to a Super Bowl. Had a few plays back. If he could get a few plays back, he might have got them there. But at the end, he wasn't good enough, and we'll see. I think with McGlinchey, you have Spencer Burford and Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore in particular, who's he's made 2 starts at right tackle. So that would be the guy that I think would replace McGlinchey if that's the direction that they choose after this season. And then you have Burford is, I think, going to be more of your swing tackle, and then Zakal, I think they're going to really be drilling on him to become more of a guard and center. So this offensive line, that's one of the fun pieces about this group, is they're very deep. This whole team is deep. You're going to hear me say that probably more times than you want to hear over the rest of the offseason before we get into the training camp. They just have a lot of depth. There's going to be a lot of fun training camp battles as the team gets ready to make cuts and things like that. This offensive line has been a group that's been maligned throughout the offseason. PFF came out with a ranking today showing the 49ers having the 8th best pass blocking, offensive line in the NFL. And that's based off of a starting lineup that consists of Trent Williams at left tackle, Colt McKivitz at left guard, Alex Mack returning and playing center, and then Brunskill and McGlinchey at right guard and right tackle. So we'll see how it all plays out. I've been somewhat bullish on this topic when it comes to the offensive lineman, and I feel like the 49ers offensive line is better than a lot of people have been giving it credit for. And we'll see. And I think, switching out both your tackles in one offseason would be a huge risk for any team, and especially the 49ers as well. So we'll see how it works out. Really quick before we move on, and this is a question, a comment that's not about the topic, but I like it. So I'll throw it up here really quick since it's my show. And Matthew Mears says, Gray is the rookie I'm most excited about. And I totally get looking forward to seeing Gray. Gray's a fast receiver. Receivers score touchdowns. They get their hand on the ball. You always want to see that happen. I'm looking forward to seeing what Gray can do as well. He, he's got that explosive element to him. And, the 49ers haven't really pulled any punches here. They've been pretty open, especially John Lynch, about having Trey Lance be the starting quarterback this year. They haven't named him that, but it's pretty clear that that's the direction they're headed. And a guy like Gray, John Lynch said it himself, it's going to be really hard for Trey Lance to overthrow him on those deep balls. So I would expect to see that ball taken, getting down the field more than we've seen it over the last 5 years while Kyle Shanahan's been out here with the 49ers. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. And, Boris asks if Gray lines up in the slot. He can play in the slot, but the 49ers according to John Lynch, what John Lynch said after the draft was that he feels like Gray is more of an X receiver. That's where his skills are most suited for, but he can play it in the slot as well. I think he's a guy who can move all over the place, but their vision for him is more of an X. So we'll see how that transitions. But they don't really have guys that are just slot guys. They usually put them in either an X or a Z, and then they move them around into different positions for based on their where they want him to go, quite frankly. And so I would expect to see him get some snaps in the slot. Eric Dane, he says, McGlinchey is going to be gone after this season. He's going to want a new contract, and the Finders don't have the flexibility to overpay mediocre players. He also says, let's put it this way. If they can't afford to keep Laken Tomlinson, they can't afford to keep Mike McGlinchey. The only thing that I will say about this is that the 49ers have value for different positions, and I think the tackle spot, they don't value the guard and center positions quite as much as they do tackles. The tackle position that's the guy that helps you with the pass rush, right? You pay all that money to those defensive ends, and you got to pay that money to keep those defensive ends from getting your quarterback. So, that's why you don't see the 49ers wanting to put up the big money for Laken Tomlinson, but they do it. At least for Trent Williams. We'll find out about McGlinchey. Williams deserves it because he's better than McGlinchey, obviously, but we'll see the direction that they take here. Tomlinson, I think, was a little bit overrated. I think that when it comes to Laken Tomlinson, his best attribute was the fact that he was healthy. When it comes to the actual play on the field, really good run blocker, struggles in the pass protection side of it, even when he had a good center and good tackle next to him, one of the best tackles in the game. So we'll see the direction that they take there. But I do agree with you, though, that I think we're going to see McGlinchey be gone. I don't think they're going to want to go out and give him big money. Next year, they're going to be spending big money on Nick Bosa, and then they're going to have to start worrying about some other signings down the road. So I don't know if McGlinchey is going to be long for the 49ers. We'll see how that works out. So that's it for tonight. Just wanted to come on and give you my list of the 5 players who I think would be entering the final year for the 49ers here in 2023. Want to say thank you to everybody in the comment section. You guys had some good comments. Definitely helped with the conversation. Thanks to all of you who are watching. If you could do me a favor, if you like what you're seeing, you're not already a member of the channel, if you could please subscribe, hit that like button as well before you leave, and get yourselves to 49ers.pressdemocrat.com and check out my writing. That'd be fantastic. Appreciate everybody. I will be back on Monday with a new Hammerhead show. And also, don't forget, as Matthew Mears said in the comment section right there, schedule coming up regarding OTAs. The 49ers rookies will be on the field next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the rookie minicamp. So we're going to have some discussion about actual on-field activity over next weekend as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Have a great Friday and a great weekend. Look forward to talking to you all soon. Take care, everybody.